It's about time I tell you what on earth is going on. Right, so to begin this story, I have to tell you that when we moved, we weren't entirely sure where we would be living, and we did it anyway. I don't know if that's stupid or smart. Probably not smart when you've got 4 children, but that's what we did. We decided to rent a house. Now, the main reason for renting, we wanted to force ourselves to stop working. So what we've been doing is heaps of after hours renovating property stuff, and we need to stop that. So forcing ourselves to rent for 1 to 2 years sounded like a great idea. Okay, this is not sustainable. Someone remind me to buy a camera stand. My arm is about to fall off. I was trying to hide the fact that I was holding the camera with my hand, but let's just be honest. If I sound tired, that's why. So when we knew we were gonna move, how do I even explain this? We actually couldn't apply for houses when we knew we were moving. It's very different here in Queensland. What I find is that most places would put their houses up at the very last second for rent. We're trying to find rental properties, applying for houses now that they're starting to come up. We're thinking maybe we just rent one a little bit in advance, just pay the rent for a while until we actually get up there. So by this point, we've got our boat booked. We know what date we're coming up. We had family who said, look, if you need a little bit of an interim place to stay, you can stay with us. We looked at Airbnbs, but they were about like $7,000 for 2 weeks. The very first house that we looked at when we came up here in November, we knew we weren't going to move until about January, and we went and looked at 2 houses for rent up here, which would be available a bit too soon, but maybe we could make it work. So we go and look at this house. It looks nothing like the photos. The door to the ensuite was a curtain, and it wasn't even a full curtain to the floor, it was just a 3/4 curtain. Look, there's nothing wrong with that. It's just for the amount of money that they wanted for the property, I would have expected a door. Let's just put it that way. It was right at the back, couldn't walk to the beach, couldn't walk to school or anything. So it was a bit like, kind of feels like we're still living in Tassie. Then we looked at another one. Jordan was really keen on it. I wasn't sure. We would have had to pay thousands of dollars of rent before we even got here, if we even got it. I don't know, I just walked into the house and it didn't feel homely. This is where Jordan and I had conversations. He's looking at it in terms of a provider's perspective. I'm looking at a house in terms of a family perspective. We kind of had this realization that, we're both looking with different lenses. It's going to be tricky to find one that we both agree on. So he says to me, look, if we don't take this house, we get up there and we don't have a house, that's going to be really annoying. I'm like, Jordan, it'll work out. It'll be fine. It's meant to be, will be. Let me just put the phone down because my arm is hurting. That feels better. We didn't apply for either of those houses. Then we find this house that looks perfect. It's better than what we thought we would get. Walking distance to the beach, walking distance to the supermarket, prime real estate. But we didn't get it. They didn't choose us. And it kind of dawned on us that the possibility of us getting a house when we don't even live in Queensland is going to be really difficult. Not only that, not only are we moving interstate, we have no work secured here. We also have 4 children, 3 under 3. Being landlords ourselves, I know the way that you look at rental applicants is just very different. Who's going to do the least wear and tear on my property? And if you look at someone on paper that's got 4 kids versus someone who's got 2 kids, you're not going to look at the one with 4 and be like, oh yeah, I'll choose that one. We keep applying. We get family who lives in the area to go and look at multiple houses for us. Applying, and we don't get anything. Now, we are like a week off. Let me just add this video in, which sums it up probably pretty nicely right now. This is a wild journey, and the main reason is that we are moving states and we still don't know if we're getting on the boat or not. So we didn't know if we were going to move. We had to make a decision about a week before. We either move up with no home and 4 children, or we wait until we get a rental property. The agent's not being able to see what kind of family of 6 we are. It could take a very long time before we finally get accepted for one. We've lived in our own houses that we own for the last 9 years. Coming back into the rental market after that, it's brutal. So we decide that we're going to move up anyway. We moved on the 6th of January and everything was closed from Christmas Eve until the 8th of January. So there was like this week and a half period where all of the agencies were closed, and that was when we chose to move up. We have a chat to family and they tell tell us, no, it's fine. We'll fit you in. We'll make do. And we're like, are you sure? We've got 4 kids. It's mayhem. Nah, come, it'll be fine. So they're beautiful and kind. So we get up here, move in with my brothers who happen to live next door to one another. So we're living between 2 houses. We are now living in the area with no home and nothing on the market that was suitable at the moment. Jordan takes a few weeks off work. I'm about to start work, but we have a week without childcare. Oh my goodness. What a wild ride that was. We couldn't contain the children. They were very noisy. And my brothers live in apartments, so there's people that live underneath. So the stress levels were really high on trying to keep the kids quiet. We literally were living in 2 rooms. Fast forward to the next week, they go to childcare. Halfway through the week, what do we get? Gastro. We get gastro from childcare. Life got really difficult. Jordan was starting to question, why did we move? Then we get a text from a family friend who said, hey, I'm actually going to Tassie for 10 days. Do you want to live in my house? We are like, heck yes, we do. The day that we leave my brother's place, he'd actually had a noise complaint about us. So the timing was impeccable. So we're living in this 3-bedroom townhouse in the best location you could possibly ask for. The kids had their own spaces. We're days away from having to get out of our friend's place, and we have applied for a 3-month short-term lease. It was a 4-bedroom and an office apartment, had a pool and a sauna and a spa, and we thought, okay, if we can live there for 3 months, we've got a much better chance of getting approved for a 3-month lease. That'll give us a rental reference, and then hopefully in that period of time we'll actually be able to secure a longer term lease. And we get told by the agent that there's literally no other applicants interested at the moment, so if you apply for it, you should get it. I kind of wish he hadn't have said that. Then I get a call from the agent. He basically explains to me, because the landlords know that we've got children, and because the property has stairs and a pool, they don't feel comfortable having it on their conscience that children live in that house. Instead of letting us live in that house and manage our own children and parent our own children, you would rather us be homeless. And the agent knew that we had nowhere to go. He knew we'd been struggling. So it really was quite awkward. We get to 1 day before we have to evacuate the house that we're in, and we have nowhere to go. What do? We panic. We look on Airbnb. We're still waiting to hear back about rentals. We're like, we actually don't have anywhere to go. Then I find an Airbnb about 10 minutes up the road. If we could hire that Airbnb for 1 month, that might buy us enough time to find a rental. Perfect. $4,000, 4 weeks. Let's lock it in and have somewhere to stay. So I messaged the host and just asked her a quick question about the property. Her reply was, oh no, we're actually taking that property down tonight. We're turning it into a long-term lease. What are the chances that a property is still available on Airbnb and they tell me, oh no, you can't have it? Like, I couldn't believe it. We really, by this point, do not know what to do. All the other Airbnbs were going to be about $5,000 to $7,000. So it really was not a good financial move to try and hire an Airbnb for who knows how long until we get a rental property. Then I get a message from my sister who said that she has talked to one of her cleaning clients about a holiday home that they have and asked whether he would be open to letting us rent off him for a short period of time. By this point, our stresses are high. This is all stupid. Why did we move here without a house? We've added so much extra stress. This move was supposed to be about not being stressed, and here we are making it so much worse than if we had stayed in Tassie. So then we get the call saying, he said yes. He said you can move into the house and you can stay there until you find a rental property. Yay! So 1 day before we had to vacate, we got a property again, somewhere to stay. And not only that, but he told us that we could stay here free of charge because he's just a beautiful, beautiful man, clearly. We move into this home. Can I mention, not only is it just a holiday home, it is like a penthouse with ocean views, better than we could have ever imagined. It's beautiful. Pool, the ocean. It's a 3-bedroom, 3-bathroom and a powder room. house. The fact that we're even allowed to stay here is such an honor. Beautiful, kind thing that he's done for us. He basically said the exception was if a family member or a friend wanted to come and use the property, that we would have to vacate. Right, so we're in this house, but we still can't get comfortable because we still really need to find a rental property. We have been still applying and looking for houses, but the pressure is a little bit off. We have a bit of a dry spell for about a week and a half where there's literally no good houses that come on the market. Then a house comes up 1 street back from where my brothers live. I took it out to George. I showed him, I said, look, this is our house. And then we're like, okay, we need to go see this house. Turn up to the rental inspection and the lady's like, you're Bronte? And I'm like, how do you know that? Turns out she remembered us from our previous applications. We looked at the house, we were stoked with the house. We had a good chat to her for about half an hour afterwards about our situation, about how we can make the most attractive application as possible to try and secure this house. We submit the application. We find out last Friday that we have officially been approved for that house, which is walking distance to the beach, right near family, walking distance to the shops, and we are so stoked. It is a real family home. The kids can just be kids and the backyard is private. So we're honestly so happy. It's available exactly 1 month from right now. Instead of getting a house really early and paying extra thousands of dollars to try and get it, we got a property too late. Yeah, we had that extra stress building up to that point, but we've got another 4 weeks here rent-free before we move into our rental property, and then we settle into what we're going to call our new life here. It's just amazing what can happen when you just let go of control and you just trust that things are going to work out. It's been a wild ride, but we can finally say that we've got a home. And family came over, popped an expensive bottle of champagne to celebrate because they all know how incredibly difficult it has been for us, not just here, homeless, so to speak, but also before we got here. It's just been this dramatic change that we know we needed to do. But in order to do it, we had to get through even more stress. It's almost like in order to turn your life upside down, you have to flip it and give it a bit of a shake, and then it settles. That is where we've been living. We have been going through this wild roller coaster, moving places, living out of bags, not having everything we need, but just making do while we settle into our new life here. So make sure you subscribe because I'm going to keep doing these little updates. And I tell you what, our life is very, very not boring. We are constantly doing stuff that is just nuts.